Our last speaker is known for everybody, Dr. Bhavani Rao. She's the Dean of the School of Social Behavior Science at Amrita University and the Director of both AMMACHI Labs and the Center of Women Empowerment and Gender Equality, and also the UNESCO Chair in Gender Equality and Women Empowerment, coordinated so many initiatives over the years, not only in India, but also in Africa, empowering about 300,000 women, and the list go on. So please give me a big applause for Dr. Bhavani and welcome here for this. 12 minutes.
40 seconds. Om Amriteshwarya Namaha. Thank you all for being here. I'll try to speak. I speak fast, so I'll try to speak faster. And if you can keep up with me, then it's good. So I'm going to talk about women and well-being. Actually, some of my previous speakers have touched upon it. Beautiful talks, and a little bit try and... It's not exactly the same thing, but it is very similar to one of my previous speakers, to Priya's talk, actually. So I'll build on Priya's talk. So women and well-being. You can go to the next slide. I didn't have time to make too many slides, but I think I can talk without them. Okay, can go next, because we're going to keep it short. Okay, so when we started working, when Amma actually had us working in the beginning with women in rural India, we realized that working with people is kind of complicated. So this particular session is about health, right? So when you talk about health and you talk about your physical health, but as Priya said, you also talk about mental health. I would like to add another dimension to it. I'd call it the environment also around you. Because even now with COVID and diseases and epidemics, you know that the environment also affects your health. It's not just your physical health. It's not just the people that are around you, but it's also the larger environment. So while working with women, we realized that they live in a very complex environment, and a systems approach, like Priya said, is very critical. So we took a look at all the work that Amma has done, and also the work that we had been following in Amma's footsteps, and looked as how best can we define the system around women's vulnerabilities or women's empowerment. And we came up with a framework along with our very esteemed colleague over here, Tarek Rashid. It's called the Awesome Framework. The awesome title was given by Tarek because I think he's part American, so he loves the word awesome, but it's actually an acronym. That part comes from being Indian because Indians love acronyms, so it has an expansion to it. So it's the Awesome Framework, and we go to the next slide, and I'll come back to this slide. You can go to the next slide, and it's a very nice, complicated system. The center of the system, if you notice, is mental health. So it's an absolute core of it. And surrounding the mental health are the three domains of empowerment, which is awareness, opportunity, and access. Mental space is at the center. Then you have awareness, opportunity, and access. And then you have the domains of dimensions of empowerment, which is health, of course, which is physical and mental health. And then you have education and skill development. You have financial stability and economic empowerment. You have the environment, climate change, disasters. You have social, cultural, and political networks. And then you have safety and security. Thank you. Safety and security. So these are the dimensions, and this system basically changes over time. So you can design an intervention, and then you study how the intervention shifts this system, and you basically have to iteratively change your intervention as the system changes. Because what you did yesterday may not be totally relevant tomorrow. So you have to make sure that your interventions also shift with as your system shifts. Because you know basics of physics, right? If you look at any system, you're going to impact that system. So this is the fundamental, and so your system is bound to shift. And therefore, your intervention has to also be something there's no cookie cutter approach, and there's no static approach. So it has to be something that is evolving. So you can go back to the previous one, and I'm going to just talk about one or two case studies as time permits to give you an understanding of how this works. You can go back to the previous slide. So one of the problems we tackled in the past is the need for toilets in the village. It's Swachh Bharat, everybody heard about it. Open defecation, big no-no. People going outside to go to the toilet, even though our ancestors and all animals pretty much go outside. But in a human community, when we have so many people living so close together, that could be a problem. We won't be judgmental about it, but right now it could be a problem. And therefore, there is a need for toilets. And toilets impacts health, right? Because if you don't have proper sanitation, you could get very sick. And if you get very sick, your mind also can not develop very well. So your mental well-being can also be impacted. There is environmental concern because it could pollute the environment, especially water bodies. There is oftentimes people don't have toilets and those kind of amenities because they don't have enough money for that. They may not also have the education and knowledge to know that this is something that is important for them. Also, their society and culture may not think that it is something that is relevant. For example, in India, the government actually built toilets in the past for people, but people would not use it. So it's not because they didn't have a toilet, but they had a mindset that pooping in your backyard was dirty. As simple as that. Why would you poop inside your house and why would you poop in your backyard? You have to go somewhere far away to poop. It's just considered dirty. So something as strong as your cultural mindset could impact you. But even the idea of community. Sometimes women would want to go far away to the bathroom because that's when they got to chat and hang out, and they took long walks together. They walked a mile with their friends. Because it's a patrilocal society, right? So you get married and you go away to your husband's house and you don't really have friends. So you make friends, and when do you hang out with your friends? When you take a walk into the woods, when you have to go poop. So there are so many different things to consider. So it's that there's never, it was very not simple. It's not as easy as just building a toilet and putting a toilet there and say, hey, use it, it's good for you. It doesn't work like that. So we had to develop a very, very intricate intervention. So we started, of course, with education and skill development and awareness. So is contaminated water bad for you? How is it bad for you? How does it get contaminated? What can you do about it? Does that thing help you today? Will it help you tomorrow? How else can it benefit you? So we worked with women. Chris here did water testing with them, showed them E. coli in their water that they said was pure. We have a very good sense of pure water. Ganga is pure. Everything is pure. All water bodies are pure. But when you show them the E. coli, they don't know how to really comprehend it. So you educate them. So then you show them videos of people getting cholera and scare them a little bit, I guess. But eventually, they understand that maybe that toilets are good for you. And some people will say, okay, yes, I want toilets. And so, okay, these are agricultural laborers. So they go to do work in construction sites, they move materials. So they carry bricks on their head, stands, stones. This is the kind of work they do. So you say, okay, you're anyway doing this. What if we teach you a trade? We teach you masonry, we'll teach you plumbing, we'll teach you plastering. You build a toilet in your own house. Okay, so at the end of the day, you have a toilet in your house, but you have learned these 3 skills, and you could use the toilet because you also know that toilets are important to you. And because you know how to build a toilet from scratch, from the pit to the roof, if something goes wrong, you know how to fix it. So it breaks down tomorrow. You don't have to wait for somebody to come from the local city to come and fix it. You're in a village, you can fix it for yourself. And tomorrow, when you go to the place where you're doing construction, instead of being employed for 100 rupees to move materials, you can get 300, 400, 500, even 600 rupees per day if you perform a skilled job. Sounds good? Yeah. Okay, so now then we had the community problem. So we had to create communities of learning. They came together, they studied together, they would play games together. This formed that cohesiveness, and then we formed self-help groups. So you work together, you build together, you earn money together, you save money together. So that sense of community and the sense of not that you're just alone doing this for yourself. And this is how we address the problem of rural sanitation. And the communities that we worked with I think 21 communities. As we were closing the project, 18 of those communities were declared open defecation free, which means they mobilized their entire community to end open defecation, which means more than 60% of that villages had to have had built toilets. You're talking about villages that did not have, and purely by women who not just built toilets for themselves, but started building toilets for others in their village, were able to mobilize their entire communities towards ending open defecation. So that is one story that I have to share. Yes. And many of these people are actually sitting amongst you. There's Kripa Sagar, there's Amrita. Who else? Sri Vidya, she must be somewhere here. These are the people that actually went to the villages of Rajasthan, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, and built toilets with the women over there. And there's another case. Do I have a few more minutes? 2 minutes, okay. I'll try and squeeze in another story. So another case that I would like to share with you is the work that we did with the Central Reserve Police Force, the CRPF. The CRPF is India's largest paramilitary force. You can see them in the ashram around Amma. They do the security. They maintain peace and security, which is not the police part of it, but in extreme areas. So you will find them in all conflict zones. So you'll find them in the Maoist areas, in any whatever. Okay, but you get what I mean. So, and also Z-class security for high-profile people. Those are the kind of services they offer. And one thing that plagues that group is a very high rate of suicides. There's a lot of mental stress that these corps go through, these soldiers. They also have very high rates of gender-based violence with their spouses, with the women in their families. So we were asked by a very forward-thinking Inspector General, she's a woman, and so she said, what can you do for the soldiers? So we worked very closely with the CRPF, very closely with the Jawans, with the foot soldiers, with the commandants, with the Inspector General herself, trying to really understand the entire space that these men work in. And what we realized is that they have the burden of patriarchy. So they are often young boys who have joined these forces after their 10th grade, so their education levels are pretty low. They have this sense of responsibility that they have to bring up their entire family. They're from rural areas. They have to get their sisters married off. They have to build a house for themselves. And some point of time, they do get married to a girl that they don't really know. And they're never at home, so they're always suspicious of what she's doing behind their backs. So they're far away. And then there's fights between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. The mother calls the guy who's standing in freezing zones saying that things are going bad. Okay, never mind. Oh, you get the scene. It's a very difficult life, and they don't have good communication, and so they get, there's a lot of violence towards self-violence and fratricides and violence towards others. So we designed, again, based on AWESOME, a holistic training that is rooted on the mental space. So mental well-being and how that can expand to well-being in all corners. So gender-based violence was actually dealt with from a perspective of engaging men and boys. So we worked with the Jawans, training them on mental well-being. An empowered man allows for an empowered woman, and that it is okay for somebody to be just as empowered. It doesn't make you less empowered if somebody else is empowered. And the suicide rates actually, and I think Dr. Malini can correct me if I'm wrong, and Reshma, Radhika, went down significantly over the last 3 years among the troops that we train. I think we've trained about 27,000 soldiers in the Srinagar area, about 8,000 soldiers in the Telangana state special police forces, and about 3,000 in the CRPF South as of now. Thank you.